Daya Camping has just introduced a new multi-tool, and this one right here goes head-to-head with the Leatherman Wave Alpha, but it comes in at $160 cheaper with a pouch and a bit kit. Let's get started. Now, Daya Camping they're not new to the multi-tool market. They've come out with many unique models, and this right here is the original DL7. This was essentially the upgraded version of some of their Leatherman clones. This one right here is the one with what they claim to be titanium handles. I have actually used heat on these and gotten different results. They do change color. You can make some pretty cool things with the handles or different colorways with the handles. And this is actually the tool that I use at work for the moment. Most of the times I am testing out a new multi-tool, and so I'm taking that to work. But at the moment, I don't have one that is necessarily tough enough to test out. So this is the tool I have really enjoyed carrying with me to work for my, my work kit. This right here comes with the saw, it comes with the serrated blade, the knife, and the scissors. A really nice kit right here. Pretty much a Leatherman Charge copy with almost a Leatherman free set of pliers. Really nice job. So Daya Camping has changed it up, and they have decided to use this right here as the base for their Leatherman Wave Alpha copy. Now, a little while ago, a couple weeks ago, I told you that Decoyu, they had been offered to essentially sell this with their own branding on it. There seems to be large companies in China that crank out these tools, and these small brands, a lot of times a single person or a couple people that have formed a company are allowed to put their own branding on it, and then you can sell it as your own. And so Decoyu, the gentleman from Decoyu, said, hey, I'm not a huge fan of it. And a lot of people in the comments said, you're just trying to rip off Leatherman. They got all upset. And I don't think they really understood how the system works over there. But Daya Camping has gone all in, and they are selling this on AliExpress for $40. Now, to me, it's $30 plus $10 shipping. If you are in an area closer to China, perhaps you can get this for even cheaper. All right, so let's look at the texture on the outside right here, side by side. Now, on AliExpress, they claim that these handles are G10. To be honest, both of these feel a little cheap if they're the Leatherman Wave Alpha for $200 or the Daya Camping DL7. Both of these feel a little cheap to me, but both of these claim to be G10. I have to say that the Leatherman goes for a lot smoother feeling, and the Daya Camping goes for more, it feels more grippy. The Leatherman Wave Alpha has rounded these corners, so that's more comfortable, where the DL7, it has made sort of fairly marketable transitions. And so I don't think it's as comfortable in the hand, but when you have these open, your hands are resting on the sides. You're not really resting on these. And so I don't know that you will necessarily notice a huge difference. Now, when I grip the Leatherman Wave Alpha and I grip the Daya Camping, one of the differences is the Daya Camping does feel a little wider. So when we look right here, it is a little wider. It is able to have that 1/4-inch bit driver. So even though it has a lot more capability, the Leatherman Wave Alpha feels a little bit better in the hand because it is more narrower. But I don't know if it's worth $160 more just for that. That is the G10 handles. And then let's go ahead and look in the interior. Here's a comparison between the Leatherman Wave Alpha, the Daya Camping DL7, the interior tools. On this side of the DL7, you have the standard double-sided ball detent, 1/4-inch bit driver that also doubles as a 1/4-inch nut driver. Very important in some of the trades, especially mine as an HVAC tech. The Leatherman sticks with their proprietary bit system. You can get a whole bunch of adapters for this, but then that adds extra bulk and weight. There is a bit driver of sorts here, the Leatherman bit driver, and then the can opener on this side. On the other side, the DL7 has a diamond file. It is very small. It has a regular file on the other side. Sort of, I don't think it's even really a screwdriver tip on the end. The Leatherman Wave Alpha will have a very large screwdriver right here, or a fairly large screwdriver. DL7, I think their screwdriver is even a bit bigger. It seems a bit beefier to me, a little bit wider at the tip. Both of these will have the micro screwdriver bits. Now, I think this one will fit in the Leatherman, or the Leatherman may fit in this one, but this one will not fit in the Leatherman, I think is what it is. I think the Leatherman is just slightly smaller, so it can still fit in here, but this one is a little bit bigger, just big enough not to be interchangeable with a Leatherman bit, I think. There is the all as there is right here, and then because this is wider, they can squeeze the combo tool, can opener, bottle opener, wire stripper, which was on this side, they can squeeze it over here. So the Day of Camping is actually able to fit a file as extra in here and a 1/4 inch bit driver, which is wider because the wider handles. So it actually has a better, quote unquote, as long as the tools are made equally, which of course they are not. But if you were comparing them just for the tools they have, I would actually prefer the Day of Camping. And it actually has roller markings on the sides where the Wave Alpha has decided, in their wisdom, Leatherman took that away from the Wave Alpha. Now let's go ahead and close this up, open these on the outside, these outside tools. All right, so this is definitely where we notice a big change with the Leatherman Wave Alpha. It has the saw, and then it has a full diamond file, not just a tiny interior one. It has the set of scissors, and then it has the special knife, which is MagnaCut. That will be a huge change. The Day Camping DL7 has a large set of scissors that's even larger, I think, than the Wave Alpha. What I like about it is it has this serrated blade with the gut hook. I like that, very similar to the Charge. And they actually have added a thumb stud on their knife that was not there previously, and then a large saw. So one of the huge changes between these two is obviously the MagnaCut blade. The DL7 will not have that. And then the Alpha has the full file, where the DL7 has the small internal file. Other than that, there is a lot actually in favor of the DL7's tool set versus the Leatherman Wave Alpha. Lately, I've been having some very mixed results with the scissors from Overseas Multitools. Let's go ahead and check this out. Now, I think one of the best things to do is to check it with the paracord. So the scissors are cutting through, but they're not quite, well, yeah, there we go. So they are slicing right through. That one did partial. So depending on how you hold it, where you put the paracord, if you put it here at the bottom, open up the scissors wide, they slice right through. Let's try the Leatherman Wave Alpha. Actually, I have to say, I think I like the scissors on the Alpha a little bit better. Let's do some of these hard cuts. This is a toe strap. It will cut through, but it did take a little bit. Let's see with these. I think with this, it actually slices through the toe strap a little bit better. Very thick material. Let's try slicing through the seat belt. Yeah, it's very easy to slice through the seat belt with these scissors. That is something I do like about the Day Camping scissors, but, well, let's see here. The Leatherman Wave Alpha scissors are struggling. Let's go down a little bit. They are struggling. I don't know why. I think I might be able to get through, but it's not easy. Well, barely, maybe. Let's try the last little bit with the day of camping scissors. Yeah, slices right through. I guess the day camping might be a little bit better actually than the Leatherman Wave Alpha, but I think it will depend which material you're cutting. Now on this version of the DL7, they have actually gone away from that almost hybrid Wave Free Series plier head, and they have gone back to a standard, more Leatherman style plier head right here. Both of these will actually have crimping notches of sorts, but the day of camping does look like it might be a little bit easier to actually use. They both have replaceable wire cutters, where the Leatherman Wave Alpha will have a small gap in the bottom. The day of camping DL7 will have the older style with no gap in the bottom, which I definitely prefer. Both of these pliers look fairly similar. The DL7 seems to have fairly unashamedly copied this from the Leatherman Wave, and so they have a lot of similar characteristics right there. Now in the hand, I have to say the DL7 does feel, the handles feel a lot looser, and some people will say that is great. Some people will say that is cheap. But whereas the Leatherman, the official Leatherman Wave Alpha right here, is a little bit almost, not really hard to close, but some of these have where they feel like they're almost binding, they're not super loose. The DL7 actually feels really nice and free. Almost to the point where it does feel a little bit cheaper, but I do like that it is fairly loose. Also included in the DL7 is this small bit kit. You get a small flat screwdriver, a smaller Phillips screwdriver, these two Torx bits, and then the flat bits. You do get a sheath of sorts. It is a fairly standard sheath, no side pockets or anything on the side. And then you get this elastic place where you can put your small kit in front. This fits in. The sheath, I have to say, does feel very cheap, but that's what you get. So one of the last little complaints I need to talk about the day camping DL7. Overall, very impressed with this. The thumb stud has an annoying wiggle where it feels like it is loose, but when you look at the other side, I don't think you can tighten it. I don't know that the camera will zoom in, but it's basically just, it looks like riveted almost. And so you've got a little bit of a loose thumb stud, which I know will annoy some people. You don't really feel it until you actually move it back and forth. It's got a lot of play in it, but that's one of the things you get when you get a cheaper tool like this. So at the bottom with the DL7, there is definitely some play right here. For $160 cheaper, you are not getting the exact same thing. With the Leatherman Wave Alpha, there is some play, but you can't really pick it up on camera, but it does feel a little better. Both of these, I think, are okay tools. I have to say that for $40, I think this has an outstanding value. So ethics aside, I have to say that I would definitely probably pick up the DL7 due to its huge savings, but it is unfortunate, really not good, that they copied so heavily the Leatherman Wave Alpha. They could have definitely come up with their own design. They did not have to mimic exactly the Leatherman Wave Alpha almost, even though it's not exactly the same and it's a little bit of a worse copy. But for $160 cheaper, you do not have the MagnaCut blade, which is the huge thing you're missing. But otherwise, yeah, you do have, to some extent, a better tool set. Let me know what you guys think. It's really getting crazy in the multi-tool world. Is the DL7 a fantastic alternative to the Leatherman Wave Alpha? It might be. One of the other things you need to consider is that this right here in black, it comes in black, green, and tan. The black and the green probably will not get near as dirty as the orange has on my Wave Alpha. So that is why I specifically picked up the black, but it does also come in green. Let me know what you guys think.